personal story to me. I mean, I wasn't aware that I was an intersex person or had an intersex variation when I was younger because it was kept a secret from me. I mean, I had a sort of perception that I was different to other children or teenagers. I wasn't sort of going through the same changes, like, puberty, like as them. So I knew that I was a bit different, but I had no idea why. And it was very confusing for me. So when I finally did find out that I was intersex and I realized that it wasn't just me, it was many people have this kind of very shameful, stigmatizing experience of growing up different. I wanted to make a documentary about it. I mean, at first I was very scared to do so because it would mean that I would have to come out and, declare myself as someone who was intersex. But, in the end, I kind of got over that hurdle and decided to do it. And it was sort of something that was meant to empower people within the community, but it ended up being something that I think spoke to a lot of people because, it was about difference, about bodily difference in sex characteristics in my case, but it sort of translated to anyone who'd experienced some kind of otherness, I guess, as a child or as a young adult or whatever. So it sort of crossed those borders in that regard. I just remember that I heard that it went well and I was excited that, it got to be shown. But it's in Paris, isn't it? Like, was it shown in, yeah. So I can remember it was like, wow, my film's in Paris. And I wonder how French people, or French-speaking people might feel about my film. And actually, I got emails from people saying that they enjoyed it and it made sense to them. And so that was really exciting. I was born here in Brisbane, Australia, Meanjin, quite a while ago now. And I guess I was always interested in storytelling as a child and enjoyed watching television and going to the movies and things like that. So in high school, I started to study film more carefully. And I decided at university to also study film and and then I guess as the years went by and I learnt more skills, I sort of recognized that I was really interested in documentary filmmaking in particular. I think just simply because I felt like the stories that people had to tell were really important, and also, oftentimes, that adage of, life is stranger than fiction, or non-fiction is often stranger than any story you could make up, kind of thing. I kind of believe that, and so I sort of was someone who went into television and worked with local broadcasters here in Australia. But after a while, I decided I might like to try to give freelancing a go and maybe do my PhD and, some other sorts of goals I guess I had in mind. And that's when I filmed Orchids, my Intersex Adventure, and some other works, I guess, that ended up going around the world and, having a bit of an impact in that regard. I have been working pretty consistently since I made Orchids, my Intersex Adventure. So I've just recently written a book about documentary practices post-COVID around the world. And that's sort of more research, like a research book. And so that was really interesting because I got to speak to many inspiring filmmakers around the world and learn about their practices and what is sort of, working for them at the moment in this kind of, golden age of documentary filmmaking, so to speak. I sort of am working on a new project at the moment, a new documentary creative project. It's about Indigenous art, actually. So it's something that hopefully we'll begin filming in November in both Australia and Taiwan, actually. So I'm working on new projects, but I guess I am a little bit like someone who gets interested in all sorts of things. And I have been asked occasionally, like, oh, are you going to make a part two of the first documentary, like where you are now and how, because a lot of things have changed for intersex people and their rights around the world, and they're much more recognized than they were 10, 20 years ago, for example. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen for me anytime. Really just sort of enjoying living life and exploring new projects and ideas. I do think visual storytelling is quite a powerful way for us to share information, stories, ideas. And I guess that's because we are inherently visual. I mean, I just love colors and details and being able to see things personally. I guess as I'm getting a little bit older, my eyesight's starting to become a little worse. It's sort of sad for me to lose, the ability to look through a camera, viewfinder, and I'm like, oh, I need my glasses to see this properly, to see if my camera's in focus now. So that's a little bit sad, but at the same time, there's a lot of beauty to be seen visually. So I think that's why visual storytelling helps. But I've always been someone that's been able to work in a multitude of kind of like forms or material, with different materials and things like that. So I sort of enjoyed in my filmmaking sometimes to introduce, interesting sound design elements, or like in my film Orchids, we filmed, we had not only kind of medical photography, but we had kind of like, I guess, evocational material that was sort of more symbolic kind of thing. And that to me was sort of like one of the new challenges of, like working in documentaries, that, you can have these kind of expressive ideas, or, to express a different kind of truth. And yeah, so those kinds of things are really interesting, interesting things you can do as a filmmaker visually. I guess as a teacher, I'm often have students who want to move into the industry or start films, and I sort of remember the advice I was given when I was younger, which was just to pick up a camera and begin filming kind of thing. It might not necessarily be the case that someone will hand you an opportunity on a plate. So if you have the chutzpah, I guess, to sort of like, just go ahead and even on your iPhone or something like that, just film a little film and just try to experiment and do something a bit different, or even do something that's sort of very, not different, but like, it's your own perspective, I guess, kind of thing, yeah, it just takes, it's a shame that the industry doesn't have more pathways for young people to get into it, because it takes such a long time to get good at making films. Like there's definite mastery around it kind of thing, I can sort of remember having done it for like 10 or something years, and then being finally going, wow, I think I'm actually really good at it now. And that just takes such a long time. But in the meantime, you're sort of struggling to make ends meet. And I know a lot of young people would just be like, that's it, I have to get out of this. I'm not able to, pay the rent, like by doing this kind of work. But I think persistence does pay off. So if you're able to just hold on and keep doing it, you will find success eventually.